Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I specifically want to thank both of your families, Admiral General, for, I think it's probably safe to say you're both in your dream jobs right now, but your families have borne the brunt of your service, and I always want to keep the families in mind. I want to talk a bit about the submarine threat, Admiral Richardson, the evolution of the Chinese and Russian. My understanding in simple terms, Chinese are really ramping up production and numbers. The Russians in terms of approaching parity in quality. Can you share with us some of the successes you've had in tracking the recent out-of-area submarine deployments by the Chinese and the Russians? I understand that the P-8 has been instrumental. Its sonobuoy processing capabilities are critical to that success. And then if you could talk to me about sonobuoys in your funded and then your unfunded priorities.
Yeah, sir. What I think I need to do is come back and give you a classified brief on that. It's almost impossible to talk about that unclassified forum. But I will say that in this venue that ASW has really become a team sport. It involves not only submarines, but also surface ships, their towed array sonars, their radars, and then, as you mentioned, the P-8s and their sonobuoys. It all works together as a team, and we're getting more and more participation with our allies who can keep with us at that high end as well. With respect to sonobuoys, it is, it's like every other, it's like a piece of ordnance. When, you expend it and it's done, and you need to kind of keep replenishing that. And as we continue to ramp up our capability, we're finding that we need to replace those sonobuoys at an increasing rate, and so our budget supports that.
Great. In terms of, again, sticking to the Chinese and where they're going, a number of studies that I've read, they're producing, and setting the qualitative parts of this aside, we're looking at 2 to 3 ships to 1 in terms of their production. I mean, it is one of the largest shipbuilding. They have one of the largest shipbuilding capabilities in the world by far. Is there as you're looking at your studies and in your studying the force structure, isn't there a kind of a quality to quantity in and of itself? And looking at the high-low mix and looking at the cost savings of refurbishing frigates in particular at a fraction of the cost. So if these trends continue, do you agree with the assessments that quantitatively the Chinese will be on parity by 2030 and qualitatively, actually, I'd say quantitatively exceed, qualitatively approaching parity by 2030?
Well, certainly they're the number one shipbuilder in the world, right? And so from a quantitative standpoint, it's, they're ahead.
Maybe you can just add to your comments, you had mentioned some incentives that you're looking at increasing our shipbuilding, domestic shipbuilding.
I would be willing to participate in a discussion to do everything we can to incentivize and increase domestic shipbuilding. I think it's a national strategic imperative, and so there's a number of things that we might be able to do, and I'd look forward to the discussion, sir. And then with respect to the qualitative, I think we're going to continue to do our best to stay ahead from a qualitative standpoint from any other Navy in the world.
Congressman, just to add something to that's going to inform our discussions, our acquisition and sustainment arm through Secretary Gertz is actually doing a what happens when the balloon goes up with industry. We're having a forum that read America's Arsenal or the Freedom's Forge. It's that whole concept of what would happen to capacity and what could our suppliers expect to do if, in fact, we really surged the demand. That's happening the end of May. It's going to be interesting. We'll let you know.
New investments in modernizing the reserve fleet, which is sitting around 40 to 45 years. How are we going to address that, and how is the Navy? I mean, I understand it's not the sexy end of shipbuilding, but just assure this committee that you're taking that seriously.
Totally. This is square in my wheelhouse. Again, it comes to portfolio management, and I don't say that apologetically. That's how we're trying to balance this whole investment process, Congressman. The CNO gave you the overview. One of the things that I'd love to plant as an ask is the ability to buy more foreign used. Yes, we need to get our shipbuilding muscles back in shape, but in the immediacy, you've given me the ability to buy 2 and then go forward with champs, and then I can buy 3 more. I would like to have more the ability to have X dollars in an account and go out to the marketplace and buy as much as I could with that money.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Waltz.